I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube that talk about split screens or multiple shots on the same screen, but all of them seem really complex and convoluted, using grids and whatever, and individual positioning. But this makes it really difficult when it comes to animating the shots and controlling which part of the image is on the screen. What you need to do is create some form of template that can be reused over and over. When I've been doing my Shinju 24 videos, I had to work out how to do the split screens idea, and it took quite a while to get some sort of template together that made it a lot easier for me to edit. So I thought I'd share with you how I go about doing my split screens, and hopefully it'll help you out. So here's an example of what we're going to be creating. First of all, we need to do some preparation, so you're going to need Photoshop for this. So let's open that up. So click the Create New button and make the width 960. And what that'll do is give us a half screen width. Make sure we're in landscape mode, and if the color mode is not already on RGB color, then change it and then click transparent from the drop down and then click create. So now we have a transparent background. So what we need to do now is go to select all, or you can press Ctrl A, then go to edit and stroke. Now I've set mine to 3 pixels because that's just the way I like it, and with the color of the black. Just make sure that inside is selected here and then click OK. So now we need to save the file. Now I found that the best way to do this is use PNG files because they give you a transparent background. So go File, Save As, Vertical Halves. So in the Save As type we choose PNG and click Save and click OK. So now we have a transparent file with a 3 pixel border around it in black. While we're here we may as well do some of the other ones we need. So undock the file, right click, go canvas size, and then we will put 960 by 540 and click OK, and it'll ask you, do you want to do this, because it's going to change the canvas size. Click proceed, and now that's a quarter screen. So now we have to put a stroke around it. So first we go select and click all, or you can press Ctrl plus A and then go to the edit menu and click stroke. The values should still be the same from the previous time, so just click OK. So do the same thing again and click Save As, and in this case we'll choose the drop down and we'll say quarter and save as a PNG. So now you can repeat this process for the other file sizes you need, and that's about it. And you can see these sizes on the screen. So now we can get out of Photoshop and open up Premiere. The first thing you need to do in Premiere is create a new project. So go New Project, and then we'll call this Split Screens. Leave the other settings as they are. So in Premiere, the first thing we need to do is import our media. You can do this several ways. We can either go File, Import, and import it that way, or we can right click on the project panel and click Import, and then we select our PNG files and click Open. So let's create a new sequence for the vertical half. So right click on the PNG file, click New Sequence from Clip. So now we have a new sequence that's 960 pixels by 1080. We'll move that up one slot, and just for convenience sake we might right click, new item, and then color matte, and keep it at 960 by 1080 and click OK. Choose any color you like. Let's go for a pretty little green color and call this placeholder. Click OK. So drag the placeholder into our timeline, and we now have a vertical half with a black border around it and placeholder color. We now need to create our main composition. So right click in the project panel, click new item and select sequence. And it doesn't matter really what you choose, it's just got to be 1080p, so whatever, this one will do. And we'll call that vertical halves animation. Click OK. So first thing we need to do is drag our vertical half placeholder, keep the sequence settings because we need 2 of them, and do that the second time, and we'll expand that up a bit so we can see what we're doing. So we need to animate this, so select the first one. We need to create some keyframes, so we'll click position. So let's go forward 7 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And create a keyframe. So we want this to be exactly in the right position, right? And I know that that really should be 480. I've done this too many times. And we'll make that one an ease in. Then we go back to the start and drag that off the screen, and of course it must be -480. So now you can see that it animates onto the screen. So let's do the same thing with the other one, and this time it needs to end in that position, and really that's going to be 1440 to be precise. So we go forward 7 frames, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll turn on keyframes. And we'll make this one ease in, and then we'll go back to the beginning and we'll move this one off the screen. So 2400 to be exact. So when we animate this, both screens come in from the sides and we have a split screen. Now just to make things a little bit more interesting, I usually slide this across about 5 frames so that they don't both come in at the same time. They come in one side and the middle, and it gives it a little bit more flavour. At full speed it looks like that. As you can see, I've already imported some footage, so let's use that so I can show you the final effect. So what we need to do really, because we want to keep these as our templates, we need to duplicate this one twice. So right click, duplicate, and right click, duplicate. Now what I like to do is copy the name of the file and make these duplicates the names of the file, so I can keep track of everything, right? So, and then we have to duplicate the main animation and duplicate, and we'll just call this one animation 1. So let's open up our animation 1, and what we need to do is we need to take these 2 files here and copy them onto these layers in animation 1. So we'll click the sequence, press your Alt key and drag it over on top of the original, and do the same for the other one. Don't forget to press your Alt key, and there we have it. So this one here is 0605 blah blah. So we get the original file and we drag that into there and drag it over the placeholder. Don't forget to press the Alt key, and there we have it. So what we can now do is click on this layer here, and we can position this shot wherever we like. Probably there's a good place. And then we do the same thing with the other one, and we drag, what's this, 1639, and we'll drag this over there, and we now have our shot. So click on the layer, and then you can adjust the position wherever you like. So now when we go to animation 1, we now have the 2 shots in the one scene as a split screen, animated in. And so if we play at full speed, there it goes, and we have the animation. I've tidied things up a bit and put everything in individual folders. Always good practice. Gives you an idea what your project structure is, and you can keep track of everything. So we have subs, which contains the elements we use in end animation. We have the footage, so we can keep that all together. And we have the elements themselves, so all the PNG files and our placeholder. So let's do something a little bit different. We'll maybe use thirds in a vertical strip. So what we first need to do is we need to create a new item, new sequence. Again, 1080p, doesn't matter what. And we'll call this vertical thirds. Click OK. So now we need the vertical third PNG file. So we right click that and we click new sequence from clip. So now we have a vertical third, the PNG, and we need to put our placeholder in there just to know what we're doing. And now we have a third strip. So go back here and we'll put our vertical thirds in on the first layer. Keep the sequence settings, make it a bit bigger so we can see what we're doing, and then we put another one and then another one. And the same as we did with the halves, we'll do some animation. So click on the first layer, and the final position for this one will be here, and basically that'll be 320. Second one's already in position, so we don't need to do anything about that. And then we'll move the third one across to the other side, and I know that's 1600. So go back to the first one, make this a bit bigger, go through to 7 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll turn on the animation keyframes and we'll make this one ease in. And go back to the beginning and we'll move this across so it's off the screen. And we'll make that minus 320. So now we can see that moves on the screen. So what do we do with the middle one? Middle one's a bit different. You can do basically whatever you like. The left, right, and maybe from bottom or top. Let's do from the bottom, shall we? So make this a bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. Go across 7 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll turn on the keyframes. Make that keyframe into an ease in. And then go back to the beginning, and I know that it's supposed to be 1620, so that's good. So now when that comes in, it goes up like that. So let's have a look at the third one, and again, same thing. This is where it finishes. Let's make it a bit bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So click on the keyframe, make it an ease in, and then go back to the beginning, and we need to make this go off the screen this side, and I know that's really going to be 2240 to be precise. So now when we have a look at the animation, all 3 scenes come in at the same time. And again, as we did with the halves, it's probably better to make it happen at different times, so we'll just drag it across, and then when we play it back, it comes in and looks a little bit more pretty. So let's tidy up the ends of it just to make them even. And now we have the animation for the vertical thirds. So let's replace the placeholders with some actual footage and see what it looks like. So first thing we need to do is duplicate this sequence. So right click, duplicate, right click, duplicate, right click and duplicate. So now we have 3 scenes. Also we need to duplicate the main scene. So duplicate, and let's call this animation 2. So let's open up animation 2. We have 3 files to go in there, so let's call this first one, that file, then this one, this file, and then this one, this file. So now we need to drag this one into the first layer, pressing your Alt key, and then do the same thing for the second one, and do the same thing finally for the third one. So we'll open up this one and we'll put in our file name, so that's 2126, and press your Alt key, drag it over the placeholder, and now we have our scene. So we can adjust that to whatever position we think is good, and then we open up the second one and drag the footage into that, and maybe we'll put that across a little bit, not much difference. And then we'll open up the third one and drag our footage into that, press the Alt key, drag it over the placeholder, and there we have our boats, and we can move that across and give it a different position. So the benefit of doing it this way is you can control the position of your footage, and you can move it around, scale it up, scale it down, and do whatever you like. Whereas if you're going to use something like the grid system or whatever, you can't do that. It's really difficult, and you're stuck with the size that you're limited by. So now let's have a look at animation 2, and our footage comes in, and there we have it. There's a split screen scene with 3 strips. Okay, so we've looked at animations with 2 screens and 3. What about 4? So I've already set up the new animation file called animation 3, and we'll use this to do the 4-screen animation. So double click on that. So now we need to create a sequence for the quarters. So right click on quarter, click new sequence from clip, and we now have the quarter PNG. So we'll put a placeholder in there, and we have the quarter we need. So now we'll put our new quarter sequence in there. So there's the first one. We're going to need 4 of those. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So first thing we need to do is we need to reposition the first quarter. So I just happen to know that it's 480 by 270, and that's going to put one of our quarters up in the top corner. So the second one we want to put up in this corner, and we know that this is going to be 960 plus 480, which should be 1440, and make this one 270. If you do this often enough, you'll learn what these numbers will be for all the cases, so it makes it a lot easier. Alright, so our third one, this is going to be 960, so this again will be 480, and it'll be 540 plus 270. The reason for this is, of course, that the anchor point is in the middle, so we need to move it down half again, right? So 540 plus 270 is 810, and there we go. And the final one, it's going to be the same X value was 1440, so we can type 1440 in there, and again that's going to be 810, which will be make it on the same level as this one. So there we have our 4 quarters. So that's fine. So now we need to animate them. So we go back to our first quarter and go across 7 frames. We can do it on any of these timelines. We can do it here, we can do it up here, or we can do it down here. So we then put a keyframe, and we're going to do that as a ease in, and then go back to the start, and then we know that it's going to be off the screen by half, so that's going to be minus 480. So now when we animate that, this quarter comes in and animates quite well. So now let's do the second one. So we know this is the ending position, so we can drop a keyframe, and we'll do an ease in at the same time. Then we can go back to the start, and this is going to be 2400. And then if we do that, then both those top 2 come in, and then we go on to number 3, and we can come across 7 frames and activate the keyframes. This is going to be an ease in, and then we go back to the beginning and we put in another keyframe. It's going to be minus 480 as before. So now we have all of them coming in at the same time, and then we go to number 4 and do the same thing. So we go back to our 7 frames and we put in a keyframe, and then right click and make it ease in, then go back to the start, and we want this to be off the screen, so like it was before, this is going to be 2400 as we did with the top one. Right, so now we have all 4 screens coming in at once, and we have a 4-screen animation. Let's play that back, and there we go. So just to make this bit more interesting, we'll move the first one across by about 5 frames, and then move that one across a little bit more, and that one across a little bit more, and that one can stay where it is. So when we have a look at this, There we go. So every time you rearrange one of these, then it just changes the positioning, right? So whichever one you want to come in first. So we're going to go 1, 4, 2, 3, right? So watch again, 1, 4, 2, 3. And then we have it. We have a 4-screen animation. Let's just tidy this up. And that's it. And you can create as many different shapes and sizes of these PNGs as you like, and then use the same process to create a lot of different animations. If you watch any of my Shinju 24 videos, you'll see that I have all sorts of things with like 5 shots on a screen, 7 shots on a screen, sometimes 9, and it all works on the same logic. So now you know how to do it. You can make as many different animations as your heart desires. Anyway, that's enough for today. I'll sign off and see you next time. Thank you.